The captured purifier ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, its alien hull glowing red-hot against the night sky. Inside, Colonel Tae-hyun Kim stood at the command center, watching London grow larger on the viewscreen. What had once been a thriving metropolis was now an industrial complex of Kizari design, the largest human harvesting facility on the planet. "Final checks," Tae-hyun ordered. Around him, super soldiers prepared for battle. This would be their decisive stand. Major Min Ji-yoon approached, her enhanced body covered in combat armor salvaged from the Kizari ship. "All teams report ready. The weapon is primed." The weapon was their secret advantage, a biological agent developed from the data they had stolen. It would disrupt the pheromone network the Kizari used to coordinate, throwing their forces into confusion. "Begin the attack," Tae-hyun commanded. The ship fired its first salvo at the facility's outer defenses. Alarm systems wailed across the Kizari complex as they realized what was happening. Return fire lit up the sky, but the purifier ship's shields held. "Deploying ground teams," Lieutenant Subin Kang announced. Drop pods launched from the ship, each carrying 5 super soldiers. They crashed through the facility's roof, creating instant chaos. The Kizari scrambled to respond, but the super soldiers moved with coordinated precision. Tae-hyun led the central assault team. They fought their way through waves of defenders, their enhanced bodies performing at peak efficiency. Min-ji tore through a reinforced door, allowing them access to the central chamber. What they found inside stopped them cold. Thousands of transparent pods filled the vast room, each containing a human in suspended animation. Tubes extracted fluids from their bodies, feeding massive collection tanks. "They're still alive," Subin whispered. Captain Junho Kang rushed to a control terminal. "I can shut down the system, but we need time." "You'll have it," Tae-hyun promised. The Kizari counterattack came with overwhelming force. Their elite warriors poured into the chamber, determined to protect their precious harvest. The super soldiers formed a defensive ring around Junho as he worked. The battle pushed each enhanced human to their limits. Sunho Park's biomechanical arm transformed into a weapon that cut down multiple aliens with each sweep. Min-ji lifted an entire Kizari transport and used it as a battering ram. Subin seemed to appear and disappear between shadows, her stealth enhancements making her nearly invisible as she struck. Despite their abilities, the super soldiers began to fall. Their enhanced bodies could only withstand so much damage. "Almost there," Junho called out, his fingers flying across alien controls. A massive Kizari commander broke through their defensive line, heading straight for Junho. Tae-hyun intercepted it, engaging in close combat. The alien was twice his size, its chitinous armor deflecting most attacks. "The biological agent," Tae-hyun shouted to Min-ji. "Deploy it now." Min-ji activated the device they had brought. A fine mist spread throughout the facility, targeting the specific pheromones the Kizari used for coordination. The effect was immediate. Alien warriors began to hesitate, their movements becoming uncoordinated. Tae-hyun gained the advantage against the commander, finally bringing it down with a precise strike to a joint in its armor. "System deactivated," Junho announced. "The humans are stable. We can begin evacuation." But their victory came with a revelation. As Junho accessed the Kizari database, he discovered the truth behind the invasion. "They're dying," he explained. "Their entire species, something in human biology, produces a compound that can cure their genetic degradation." The Kizari hadn't invaded out of conquest, but desperation. It didn't excuse their actions, but it explained them. With the London facility secured, Tae-hyun made a decision. He used the purifier ship's communication system to broadcast across all Kizari frequencies. "This is Colonel Tae-hyun Kim of Earth. Your harvesting facility has fallen. Your purifier force is destroyed, but this doesn't have to end in your extinction." He offered terms. The Kizari would release all human prisoners and withdraw from Earth. In exchange, humans would help develop a synthetic version of the compound they needed, one that didn't require harvesting living beings. The response came hours later. The Khazari Supreme Commander requesting direct negotiations. 6 months passed. The Khazari began their withdrawal from Earth. Human colonies from across the solar system sent ships to reclaim their homeworld. The rescued captives were reunited with survivors. Cities would be rebuilt, not as they were before, but as something new. Taehyun stood on a hillside overlooking the reconstruction of Seoul. Beside him, Minji watched a transport ship land, carrying families returning from Mars colony. "What now?" she asked. "What happens to soldiers when the war ends?" Taehyun smiled. "We become builders instead of destroyers." The super soldiers found new purpose: protectors, explorers, and bridges between normal humans and their former enemies. Their enhanced abilities, once weapons of last resort, now helped rebuild a shattered world. As the sun set on a healing Earth, humanity's dawn had finally begun. A captured Khazari battlecruiser became humanity's most valuable asset. Captain Juno Kang spent days learning its systems, his enhanced brain processing alien technology faster than anyone expected. When he finally activated the ship's communication array, the message they received changed everything. "This is Lunar Colony Artemis," came a woman's voice, weak but clear. "If anyone on Earth can hear this, please respond." Humans had survived, not just on Earth, but in hidden colonies throughout the solar system. Artemis was one of several outposts that had gone dark during the invasion, cutting communication to avoid detection. For 15 years, they had watched Earth from afar, believing everyone was dead. Colonel Taehyun Kim sent secure messages to all discovered colonies. Hope spread like wildfire among the super soldiers. They weren't just fighting for a memory anymore. They were fighting for living, breathing humans who could reclaim their homeworld. But the Khazari noticed the change in human resistance. What had been guerrilla attacks became coordinated strikes against major installations. The aliens responded by sending their elite forces, the Purifiers, to Earth with one mission: exterminate all remaining human resistance. "They're coming," Lieutenant Subin Kang reported after intercepting Khazari communications. 3 warships. "They'll reach Earth in 5 days." Taehyun gathered his commanders. "We can't let them land their forces. We need to take the fight to them." Using information from the stolen ship, they identified the Khazari's greatest weakness. Their leaders relied on a unique pheromone network to coordinate troops. Disrupt this network, and their forces would fall into disarray. The super soldiers prepared for their most ambitious mission yet. Half would remain on Earth to continue resistance operations. The other half would use the stolen battlecruiser to intercept the incoming Purifiers before they could land. The night before the mission, Taehyun found Major Minji-yoon staring at the stars from the mountain base's observation deck. "Worried about tomorrow?" he asked. "No," she replied, her enhanced eyes catching details in the night sky invisible to normal humans. "I was thinking about what we're fighting for. If we succeed, what happens to us?" It was a question many super soldiers asked privately. They had been created as weapons for a desperate time. In peace, would there be a place for them? "We'll find out together," Taehyun said. "First, we need to make sure there's a future at all." The battlecruiser launched before dawn, carrying 200 super soldiers into orbit. They wore modified Khazari armor, allowing them to pass initial identification scans. Lieutenant Sunho Park had reconfigured the ship's transponder to broadcast Khazari clearance codes. The plan worked, until it didn't. Halfway to the intercept point, alarm systems blared. "They detected our modifications," Junho reported from the bridge. "They're powering weapons." The first blast rocked the stolen ship, damaging its engine section. Taehyun ordered immediate battle stations. "We can't outrun them now. Prepare to board." What followed was a space battle unlike anything in human history. The super soldier's ship, despite being damaged, maneuvered close enough to the lead purifier vessel to attach boarding tubes. While Khazari ships fired on each other in confusion, 50 enhanced humans cut their way into the alien warship. Inside, The close quarters made the fight brutal and personal. Super soldiers with strength enhancements tore through bulkheads. Those with speed eliminated alien crew before they could respond. Those with tactical enhancements coordinated the assault, driving toward the ship's bridge. Taehyun led the final push to capture the command center. The Kazari commander, taller and more heavily armored than regular warriors, fought with unexpected ferocity. 3 super soldiers fell before Minji managed to bring it down with her enhanced strength. Ship secured, Taehyun announced over the communication system. Begin Phase 2. With control of the lead warship, they triggered its weapons systems, firing on the other purifier vessels. The surprise attack disabled 1 ship and sent the 3rd retreating. But victory came at a cost. Their stolen battlecruiser was destroyed in the exchange, and dozens of super soldiers were lost in the battle. Those who survived regrouped on the captured purifier ship. Using the ship's advanced sensors, they discovered something unexpected. The Kazari had established a massive harvesting facility in what was once London. There, thousands of captured humans were being processed to extract the biological compound the aliens needed. That's our next target, Taehyun decided. We end this now. As they set course for Earth, a transmission came through from the lunar colony. Other human settlements throughout the solar system were mounting their own resistance. The tide was turning. For the first time since awakening, Taehyun allowed himself to feel something he had thought lost forever. Not just hope for survival, but hope for victory. The Kazari patrol moved through the abandoned city of what was once Seattle. 6 tall, insectoid aliens clicked their mandibles as they scanned the ruins for human survivors. They had grown complacent after years of easy hunting. Humans were weak, scattered, and posed no real threat anymore, which is why they never saw Lieutenant Subin Kang until it was too late. Subin dropped from a building above, her enhanced body moving with impossible speed. Before the aliens could raise their weapons, she had disabled 3 with precise strikes to vulnerable joints in their exoskeletons. The remaining Kazari fired energy weapons, but Subin was already gone, vanishing between crumbling buildings. Target patrol eliminated, she whispered into her communication device, moving to extraction point. 2 weeks had passed since the super soldiers awakened, and the Kazari were beginning to realize something had changed. Small outposts went silent. Patrols disappeared. Supply ships were destroyed. Yet they never saw their attackers, only the aftermath. Colonel Taehyun Kim called it ghost warfare. 5 teams of super soldiers striking across the globe, never engaging in direct battles, but slowly bleeding the enemy through countless small wounds. At their hidden mountain base, Taehyun studied the intelligence gathered by Subin's team. Each operation revealed more about the Kazari, their command structure, communication methods, and most importantly, their weaknesses. "They're getting nervous," Major Minji Yoon said, joining him at the planning table. Her recent mission had destroyed a Kazari fuel depot in Europe. "Their patrols have doubled in size." "Good," Taehyun replied. "It means they're wasting resources." The information flowed in from all teams. Captain Junho Kang's tactical analysis identified patterns in Kazari ship movements. Lieutenant Sunho Park's team had successfully tapped into alien communication networks. But it was Subin's discovery that changed everything. "They have a central command center," she reported after infiltrating a Kazari base near former New York City. "And I know how to get inside." The plan was dangerous. The first direct strike against a major Kazari installation. 40 super soldiers would participate, more than they had ever committed to a single operation. 3 days later, they moved through underground tunnels beneath Manhattan. Above them, the Kazari had built a massive structure where the Empire State Building once stood. It served as their regional headquarters. Subin led the way, her enhanced senses detecting motion and heat signatures through walls. When they encountered a patrol, they struck with silent efficiency. "Remember," Taehyun told his team, "our primary objective is their communication hub. Secondary is the battle cruiser on the landing pad. The battlecruiser was a prize worth the risk, a ship that could travel beyond Earth's orbit and potentially reach the Khazari homeworld. They emerged in the building's lower levels. The fight was immediate and brutal. Super soldiers with enhanced strength tore through alien security forces. Those with speed moved like blurs, disabling weapon systems. The Khazari fought back with savage determination, but they had never faced enemies like these. Minji smashed through a reinforced door, allowing Taehyun's squad to enter the communication center. Inside, tall Khazari commanders clicked in alarm. "Secure the system," Taehyun ordered as his team eliminated the aliens. Captain Junho was already at the main console, his enhanced brain interfacing with alien technology. "I'm in," he announced minutes later, downloading their entire network. Meanwhile, Subin's team fought their way to the landing pad. The sleek Khazari battlecruiser waited, guarded by elite warriors. The battle here was fiercer. Several super soldiers fell to alien weapons. Subin moved through the chaos like a ghost, using her stealth enhancements to reach the ship's entry ramp. Once inside, she disabled the security systems, allowing her team to secure the vessel. "Battlecruiser captured," she reported. "But we need to move quickly." Alarms blared throughout the complex. The Khazari were calling reinforcements. Taehyun gave the order. "All teams, fall back to the ship." The retreat was as chaotic as the assault. Super soldiers carried their wounded, fighting rearguard actions against waves of Khazari forces. Some didn't make it, sacrificing themselves to ensure the mission's success. As the battlecruiser lifted off, Taehyun looked down at the Khazari headquarters, now in flames. It was their first major victory, a statement that humanity wasn't defeated. Back at their mountain base, they analyzed the stolen data. It revealed something unexpected. The locations of human prisoners taken off-world and the existence of surviving human colonies on distant planets. Even more significant was the discovery of why the Khazari had invaded Earth. They weren't just conquering for territory. They needed something only humans possessed. "They're harvesting a compound from human biology," Junho explained. "Something in our cellular structure is essential to their survival." The war had just become more complicated and more important. It wasn't just about reclaiming Earth anymore. It was about saving humanity across the stars. Cold air rushed into Colonel Taehyun Kim's lungs as the cryopod opened. His muscles screamed in protest after years of disuse. The pain was expected, part of the revival process they had warned about during his training. What wasn't expected was the thick layer of dust covering everything and the emergency lights casting red shadows across the facility. Something was wrong. Taehyun pulled himself from the pod, his enhanced body recovering faster than a normal human's would. Around him, other pods were opening. 499 other super soldiers were waking up. "Athene, status report," he called out, his voice hoarse. The military AI's hologram flickered to life in the center of the chamber. A woman in uniform with stern features. "Colonel Kim, welcome back. Current date is May 17, 2247. Taehyun froze. "That's 15 years after we entered stasis." "Correct. Protocol Lazarus was activated 48 hours ago by Commander Ju Park. It was her final act." Other soldiers were now standing, listening. Major Minji Yoon approached, her genetically enhanced muscles rippling beneath her skin. She had been designed for raw strength, able to lift vehicles and punch through concrete. "What's happened?" she asked. Athena's expression remained neutral. "The war is over. Humanity has fallen. Commander Park activated Protocol Lazarus when the last military outpost was overrun." Silence fell over the room. These soldiers had entered stasis when humanity still had armies, nations, and hope. "Show us," Taehyun ordered. Athene projected footage of Earth's final years. Cities falling, the population dwindling, and finally, Commander Park's last stand. The super soldiers watched in silence, faces grim. "So we're it?" asked Captain Junho Kang, a slender man whose brain had been enhanced for tactical analysis. He could process battlefield information faster than any computer. The last human military force. There are approximately 800,000 humans remaining on Earth, HFY explained. Most live in hiding. The Khazari have established control centers in major cities. They've been harvesting Earth's resources and hunting remaining humans. Taehyun walked to a weapons rack and took out his specialized rifle. Then we do what we were created for. We fight back. Within hours, the facility was fully operational. The super soldiers gathered in the main hall for briefing. Each of them was different. Some had enhanced speed. Others could see in dark or detect heat signatures. Some, like Lieutenant Sunho Park, had biomechanical limbs that could transform into weapons. HFY displayed a map showing Khazari strongholds across the planet. They believe they've won, Taehyun told his soldiers. They don't know about us. For good reason, Minji replied. We were too dangerous to deploy. It was true. The super soldier program had been controversial. The enhancements made them unstable, unpredictable. Some had developed aggression issues or psychological problems. They were Earth's last resort. Weapons too deadly to use until there was nothing left to lose. Do you remember why we volunteered? Taehyun asked, looking around the room. We knew the risks. We offered ourselves as sacrifices if needed. Captain Yoonji Lee stepped forward. She had been enhanced for stealth operations, her skin able to change color like a chameleon. I remember. We're humanity's insurance policy. The next day, they began testing their abilities. Some struggled. Years in stasis had affected their control. Hyunwoo Choi collapsed during training, his enhanced speed overwhelming his body. Minji accidentally crushed equipment when trying to calibrate her strength. That night, Taehyun found Junho staring at screens showing the outside world, empty cities, alien structures, and occasional glimpses of humans scavenging like rats. Can we really make a difference? Junho asked without turning around. 500 of us against their entire invasion force. We have advantages, Taehyun replied. They think they've won. They don't know what we're capable of. And we were built for exactly this scenario. As dawn approached, Taehyun called the soldiers together. They would divide into 5 strike teams, each with different specialties: infiltration, direct combat, reconnaissance, rescue operations, and technological warfare. Today we begin the real fight, he told them. Not for territory or resources, but for humanity's survival. We are outnumbered and outgunned. But remember what we are: the best weapons humanity ever created. The first mission would begin that night, a stealth operation to gather intelligence from a nearby Khazari outpost. As the soldiers prepared, Taehyun stood before the memorial wall where HFY had displayed the names of fallen commanders, including Juwoo Park. We won't let your sacrifice be in vain, he promised quietly. Outside, the sun rose over an Earth controlled by aliens. They had no idea that beneath the mountains, humanity's last guardians were awake and preparing for war. The Khazari ships darkened Earth's skies as they launched their final assault on humanity's last stronghold. After 15 years of brutal war, the alien invaders had conquered most of the planet. Only this military base, hidden in what was once South Korea, remained. Commander Juwoo Park stood at the command center, watching her soldiers fight bravely against impossible odds. Blood seeped from a wound in her side, but she ignored the pain. The battle outside was fierce, plasma blasts lighting up the night as human weapons fired back in desperate bursts. Status report, Juwoo demanded. Her voice steadied, despite knowing what the answer would be. Lieutenant Do-Hyum Lee looked up from his console, face grim. Eastern perimeter has fallen. Western defenses at 30%. We have maybe 20 minutes before they breach the command center. Juwoo nodded. She had known this day might come when she took command. Earth's population had been reduced to less than 1 million scattered survivors, most in hiding. Their military forces were decimated. This base represented humanity's last organized resistance. "Begin evacuation protocol for remaining civilians," she ordered, "and prepare Protocol Lazarus." Do-hyun's eyes widened. "Commander, are you certain?" "I am." Ju-woo's hand moved to the special access card hanging around her neck. "We always knew this was our final contingency." Alarms blared as the base shook from a direct hit. A support beam crashed down, crushing 2 officers at their stations. The lights flickered. "Commander." A young soldier rushed in. "They've breached the inner wall. We can't hold them." Ju-woo turned to her remaining officers. "This is it. You all know what to do." As her team rushed to their final assignments, Ju-woo moved to a secured terminal. She inserted her access card and placed her palm on the scanner. The screen lit up with a simple message: Lazarus, authorization required. Another explosion rocked the base. Closer this time. She could hear the distinctive sound of Kazari energy weapons and the screams of her soldiers. Ju-woo entered her command code and spoke clearly. "Commander Ju-woo Park. Authorization Lazarus. Activation code. Humanity endures." The system processed her command. Protocol Lazarus Aniti. Thousands of kilometers away, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains in a facility unknown to most humans, ancient machinery hummed to life. 500 cryogenic chambers began their awakening sequence. Inside each pod, a sleeping super soldier, genetically enhanced, biomechanically augmented, and trained beyond human limits, stirred for the first time in decades. Back at the command center, Do-hyun approached Ju-woo. "Civilian evacuation complete. Remaining personnel are at battle stations." "Good." Ju-woo handed him a small device. "Take this to the escape tunnel. It contains all our intelligence on Kazari weaknesses. Find survivors if you can." "What about you, Commander?" "Someone needs to ensure the Kazari focus remains here while Protocol Lazarus activates." She touched his shoulder. "That's an order, Lieutenant." Reluctantly, Do-hyun saluted and left. Ju-woo locked the command center doors and prepared the base's self-destruct sequence. The Kazari would win today, but they wouldn't get everything. And they had no idea what was coming. The doors shuddered as something powerful struck them from outside. Ju-woo drew her sidearm. The doors wouldn't hold for long against Kazari weaponry. Her mind flashed to the super soldiers in their mountain tomb. They were humanity's most classified project, warriors enhanced beyond what was thought possible. Too dangerous, too unpredictable to deploy except in the most desperate circumstance. That time had come. The doors blasted inward in a shower of metal and smoke. 3 Kazari warriors entered, tall, insectoid creatures with chitinous armor and multiple arms holding energy weapons. Their compound eyes fixed on Ju-woo. She fired her weapon, knowing it would do little against their armor. A blast hit her shoulder, spinning her around. She fell to her knees, but managed to activate the self-destruct sequence. "You think you've won," she said, blood trickling from her mouth as the aliens approached. "But this isn't the end." The lead Kazari tilted its head, not understanding her words but recognizing her defiance. Ju-woo smiled as the countdown reached 0. Her last thoughts were of the sleeping warriors, Earth's final hope. The base erupted in flames, taking hundreds of Kazari with it. In orbit, the Kazari Supreme Commander received word of the human base's destruction. Victory was declared. Earth was officially conquered. Deep beneath the mountains, 500 pods continued their awakening sequence. Inside the first pod, Colonel Tae-hyun's eyes snapped open. Humanity's counterattack had begun.